Треба поставити Росію в умови, коли окрім миру у них не буде інших альтернатив. Ми дуже сподіваємося, що підтримка від партнерів, зокрема підтримка від Європейського Союзу, буде і надалі відчутною, вчасною, сміливою. За минулі півроку зроблені значні речі. Є вже пакет фінансової підтримки для України від Європейського Союзу, є 20-й пакет санкцій проти Росії за цю війну. І сьогодні ми говорили з Тішоком, і готується новий пакет, і ми на це розраховуємо. І працюють наші домовленості в обороні і співпраці з європейськими країнами, зокрема наше спільне виробництво. Ми координуємо нашу дипломатію, щоб Європа мала свій власний голос у перемовинах щодо закінчення війни. Це обов'язково, на наш погляд, і гарантування безпеки. Також ми рухаємось до вступу України в ЄС. Відкрито перший кластер в перемовинах, і вступ України в ЄС ми розглядаємо саме як безпекове завдання для нас і для Європи. За наступні півроку, і це якраз час ірландського головування. Ми впевнені, що буде дуже успішне головування. Ми вам від щирого серця цього бажаємо, і вам, і нам, безумовно. Ми розраховуємо на позитивний результат. Україна сподівається досягти більшого прогресу щодо кластерів, відкрити 5 кластерів, змістовно рухатись в перемовинах. Також треба зробити додаткові кроки у безпековій співпраці. Безумовно, це стосується не тільки України. Коли ми говоримо про безпеку, це стосується європейської безпеки, це стосується передусім формату, який зараз ми пропонуємо, європейської антибалістичної програми, щоб у Європи був достатній захист від найбільш небезпечних ракет. Сьогодні ми почали розмову з Ірландією в галузі дронів, нових технологій. Ми пропонуємо дрон-діл, відповідні технології. Це дає можливість побудувати пряму і дієву співпрацю між нашими підприємствами, компаніями. І дуже віримо, що Ірландія позитивно буде розглядати такі можливості майбутньої співпраці. Це безпека неба, це безпека моря. І ми також говорили про додаткові санкційні кроки проти Росії, які можуть допомогти наблизити закінчення війни. Росія зараз може тільки одне вбивати, у Росії вже не залишилось сильної економіки. У Росії вже, що називається, не зберегти обличчя. І після всіх злочинів, ударів, після всіх цих історичних помилок Росії, єдине, що зараз треба від них, це щоб вона закінчила війну і свої знущання з життя. Єдність Європи. Бажано, щоб була єдність Європи і Америки, і всіх партнерів, і дійсно відчутний тиск на Росію за війну. Це інструменти, щоб був мир. Ми дякуємо, що Євросоюз з нами в цій роботі, в цій боротьбі заради миру, заради захисту незалежності України, наших національних прав, життя наших людей. Життя завжди має перемагати. Життя точно переможе. Я вдячний за кожен результат, який вже є, за все те, що ми досягнемо надалі. Дякую, Ірландія, за всю всеосяжну допомогу, за запрошення. І бажаю вам миру і успіхів. Слава Україні!
We might take some questions. So first, Tony.
Thank you very much. Tony Connolly from RTE Television. President Zelensky, to you first. In light of what you've been describing about the overnight deadly attacks by Russia on Ukrainian civilians and what you're signalling about an imminent, perhaps bigger attack by Russia, is it credible that a component that could be fueling Russia's war machine is still being shipped from Ireland to Russia, given the connections between that plant, that refinery, and a sanctioned Russian oligarch? And Taoiseach, are you able to give President Zelensky an assurance that every step will be taken to prevent the further shipment of alumina from Ireland to Russia? Thank you.
Micheal, you want me?
Yeah, first of all, we had a good discussion on that specific issue. in the bilateral that we just had. And I explained to Volodymyr that we are coming to the completion of an investigation so we get the full facts surrounding the entirety of this issue, and that then we take that up with the Commission, and that we do not want to be in a position where material emanating from a plant in Ireland goes to support the Russian war machine, and that we discussed a variety of issues around that, and we will, as I say, complete the investigation. We'll engage in discussions with the Commission at that point.
Ми дійсно обговорювали сьогодні дуже предметно з Міхалом це питання, з його командою. Кожна тонна сировини, яка потрапляє до Росії, використовується проти нас в цій війні. Це те, що ми розуміємо, це те, як ми бачимо. Ми вдячні уряду, команді Міхала, що Ірландія проводить відповідне розслідування. Ми дуже надіємось на результат, позитивний для нас, безумовно. Результат в цьому розслідуванні, і дуже надіємось, що цього не треба буде чекати місяці. Тому я впевнений, що в кінці кінців все, що ми сьогодні робимо, ми обрізаємо можливості во всіх сферах Росії нарощувати мілітаризованість як своєї території, так і території тимчасово окупованої нашого Сходу, частин нашого півдня, а також нашого півострова Крим. І для нас дуже важливо, щоб вони зменшувалися. Економіка їх, як тільки вона зменшується, ми одразу це бачимо. Ми одразу бачимо, як тільки економіка Росії зменшується можливість масованих атак. І все це відображається на кількості жертв потім в Україні. Скажу чесно. Тому ми дуже зацікавлені в результаті цього розслідування.
Thank you. We'll take a question from Jorge now.
Hello, Jorge Liboreiro with Euronews. I have a question on accession. President Zelensky, today you repeated your ambition to open the 5 remaining clusters as soon as possible, but we see 2 obstacles now. First, Hungary. Peter Magyar is expressing fresh reservations about accession and is slowing things down. And then with Poland, you are currently embroiled in a very bitter dispute with Poland over your decision to rename one of your military units. The Polish defense minister even said that your decision could lead to the blockage of accession process. So how do you intend to convince Peter Magyar to leave his reservations? How do you intend to bring down tensions with Poland before it spirals out of control? And for the Taoiseach, what do you make of the fact that bilateral disputes could derail a policy that is one of your top priorities for the presidency? Thank you both.
Thank you so much for your question. So first of all, we count on all the countries on unanimity of EU to open all the clusters from our side. We did everything what the Council, what all the leaders asked us to do. Even with some difficulties with Orban government, we did everything. So I hope that Peter Magyar will support, and I hope that also Poland government will support. I think it's important when we all have rules, not, I mean, it's just, political emotions, and they said we have rules in EU. We have to do what we have to do. So that's why, be honest, yes, we did everything what was in agenda for opening clusters. The second point, look, it was not simple for us to do all this issues during the war, and I think this is also an important moment that we are saving and defending not only Ukraine, of course, first of all, Ukraine, yes, but also other countries of Europe, and I think it's important, it's in interest of all the countries to have Ukraine in EU as quick as possible. So this is what I think, and we have some internal questions. What you asked about the Poland and the Polish government, we are neighbors, and I'm sure, of course, we had difficulties in our history, but mostly countries in Europe had difficulties in the past, but we live now. Now we have one aggressor, and now we have unanimity, and we are defending EU, and we have to think about security for our people for the future. And that's why I think that questions always will find answers if we are ready to be strong neighbors and if we are ready to find answers. So Ukraine is ready. Ukraine, I think, is a strong partner and a good friend for our neighbors. I hope that our neighbors will support. By the way, we had the Conference of Reconstruction in Gdańsk, in Poland, the native city of President, both, and Prime Minister of Poland. So we had the conversation on the level of Prime Ministers. They opened this conference. Thousands of people been there. Business, and it's also in the interest of Polish business, I know, to come with other partners, with other businesses, including Irish business to come after this war will end for reconstruction is good. It's win-win. So I hope that we have more things in the future than in the past.
Could I say that, first of all, accession to EU membership is something the Ukrainian people deserve and need, and it's something they've been aspiring to in the context of defending their homeland and their sovereignty. They want a European way of life with all the freedoms that go with that. And we have to keep that as the central objective, and Russia cannot win the war. And therefore unity is important between all the EU member states on that central question. It is not the first time that bilateral issues have been problematic for accession. We've had it at different times in the Western Balkans, for example. And our view and our task is to make sure that we overcome those challenges. Our own history with the Good Friday Agreement was all about reaching parity of esteem between different traditions, different cultural language and so on, and understanding that people come from different perspectives to an issue. It's about respect, and it's about mutual respect of where people are coming from. And thirdly, I do believe that, given what has happened in Hungary after the election and so on, it's been a breath of fresh air in terms of the approach to Europe. And we hope that follows through in terms of the opening of the clusters for Ukraine and Moldova, and indeed others as well, in terms of in the Western Balkan context, that others can come along so that we have a broader movement and momentum behind the accession question, and we will work constructively with all concerned to bring that about.
Next question from Sean.
Good evening to you both. Taoiseach, you said in your speech there that Ireland will do everything it can to make sure Ukraine has the military aid that it needs. Is that a change in policy away from Ireland providing only non-lethal when you combine it with that offer that was made to provide armoured combat vehicles? I asked you this earlier, you didn't really answer the substantive point. Is that not overstepping the line of neutrality if we're getting into providing equipment which could be lethal? A sinful question. Let's come in if that's all right. And President Zelensky, perhaps you might answer why it was Ukraine didn't take up that offer and said no to those combat vehicles. And also, while Ireland has said that it will support Ukraine, some 16,000 Ukrainians here face the end of their state-sponsored accommodation in August. Did you discuss that with the Taoiseach, and are you concerned about what will happen to those citizens who have fled the war and come to Ireland?
I think your question earlier was about specific trucks, which I don't believe were lethal. And I would make the point that all of our aid so far has been non-lethal. That's Ireland. But we're now talking in the context of the EU presidency. And Europe will do everything it possibly can. And that's the context in which I am now speaking on behalf of the presidency of the European Union. And Ireland's aid remains non-lethal, humanitarian as well. And also through Denmark and Lithuania, we've had joint procurement in respect of a range of equipment and demining and defensive equipment that has been sent to Ukraine and paid for through Irish funds. So that's the context to it. It's very straightforward in that sense. And Europe will continue through the SAFE programme and through the loan that's already been agreed, the 90 billion. That's already agreed. Now the issue is that be drawn down and allocated as quickly as possible to give capacity to Ukraine as early as possible to provide for its people and to defend itself.
What do you want to hear from you? Sorry. So you asked me about some weapon from. And then it's armed vehicles.
Combat vehicles and this report this morning that you
Light combat vehicles. Yeah, it was the answer from our Ministry of Defense, and it's true that. So we are thankful, by the way, for everything. You know, we never say no during the war. There is a little bit another situation when we have, for example, some proposition about not new. I mean, it's some old, technically old, not about years. I mean, it's technically for this period of this war. Some old weapon which needs money for innovation. And that's why they understood that, I mean, the minister understood that we have deficit with money, it's true. And we try to, to push all money to missiles or drone missiles and etc. Of course, we need armed vehicles. But I mean, it's also internally we have the same questions from productions when our ministry or from our soldiers when they said, look, with all respect, we need it, but if we can use this money for drones, we will use it for drones. It's only because of this.
And in relation to the accommodation for Ukrainians in Ireland that's going to end next month, did you discuss that?
We spoke about our people, and so I understand that you helped about I think 2 billion
A year. Yeah.
a year. Yes, it's a big amount. We are very thankful, and I said it to Taoiseach that we are very thankful to your people, government, that you supported on this level. My question was, can we count that our people, that the support will continue? And Taoiseach told me yes, but there is some, as I understood, some share?
Change in accommodation.
Yeah.
In terms of the booking of hotels and leasing of buildings and so on, it's a new phase we're entering into. It's now 4 years on, and the model is changing. Yeah.
Thank you. We'll have a final question from Timo.
Yes, Timo Lehmann with the German magazine Der Spiegel. Mr. President Zelensky, Germany's federal prosecutor has today charged the suspected Nord Stream attacker with a war crime, and the suspect is an Ukrainian citizen. What is your reaction to this assessment? And if Ukrainian involvement, state involvement, were to be confirmed, what political and legal responsibility do you believe Ukraine should bear then?
If I can, Ukrainian language, use Ukrainian language. Тобто ми не знаємо зараз всіх деталей цього процесу. Так, ми не отримували офіційно всіх деталей. Принаймні, я не бачив. Відповідні органи наших двох країн, я думаю, що вони з'єднаються, і коли ми отримаємо більше деталей, напевно, зможемо відреагувати. Поки що зарано говорити.
Thank you. Thank you, Taoiseach. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. All the best.